If you feel that God is calling you to write a book and you've tried everything you know how to do and you still haven't made any progress, then this video is for you. I was wearing this shirt several years ago when I had a crisis moment of faith with the Lord. I had tried to make progress with my book and to move forward in my career as an author, and things just weren't working. I felt frustrated. I felt irritated. I felt ready to give up. So I drove to a park where I usually like to go and pray. And I said, Lord, I'm so angry. I've tried everything in an attempt to obey your call to be a writer and an author, but I still have no success to show for it. And look what I've invested. Everything I know how to invest, money, time, and effort. And I heard him say gently to me, add it up. So I got an old receipt from a restaurant that I'd been to that day, and I wrote on the back of the receipt all the different things I had tried and all the different things I had invested in, time, money, and effort. And then I shook my fist at heaven and I said, look what all I've done, God, trying to obey you. And he said, would you do it again if I ask you to? I burst into tears and I prayed, Lord, you know I would. That may be where you are right now, in a crisis moment of faith. So I want to tell you, this moment of faith is what pleases him. It's not about all your good works, all the things you've tried that have failed. It actually is about this quiet moment between you and him. That's what it was for me. I felt his pleasure when I said, Lord, you know I would. Faith is God's pleasure. That's what it says in Hebrews 11. Without faith, it's impossible to please him. That means the way that we do please him is by having faith. And if you read in Matthew 25, it's faith that he appreciates in the two parables that he tells there. He tells the parable of the 10 virgins. 5 had lamps and they brought extra oil. 5 had lamps but no extra oil. And he called the ones with the extra oil wise and the ones with no extra oil unwise. They were all waiting for the return of the king. They were all waiting for the bridegroom, for Jesus. And they were doing good works because all 10 of them showed up the way they were supposed to. But what were the unwise ones missing? Well, they didn't have it when he returned. They were off trying to get what they needed. And when they came back, it was too late. They cried out, Lord, Lord. And he said, depart from me. I never knew you. Some people misinterpret that parable and they say, how could Jesus leave behind people who don't have resources? And shouldn't we be the wise virgins who are saving and hoarding and keeping and trying to lay hold of many stuff that we're going to need in the last days? We're going to need stuff. That's not what he's talking about. How do I know? Because of the parable he tells right after that one. It's the parable of the talents, where the master, again, he's going away and he's going to be coming back and everyone's going to be waiting for him. And there are 3 servants. 2 of them invested what they had been given in waiting for him to return. And one of them just held on to his stuff. He just waited thinking that what he was supposed to do was hunker down. But when the master did return, that is the servant who was rebuked harshly. In fact, he was called wicked and lazy. And he says, be gone, you have no place here. But the ones who invested with anticipation and hope, they had faith that he would provide for them and that he would be pleased upon his return. I believe that the second parable is showing us the meaning of the first parable, that what the wise virgins had in their oil jars and in their lamps was actually faith, because faith and works go together. You can't have one without the other. Just doing what you're supposed to do in obedience is really not what pleases him. It's the faith that you exhibit in the obedience. Once again, the reason I know this is from Matthew 7, because in Matthew 7, Jesus says again, depart from me, I never knew you. When people cried out to him and said, Lord, Lord, Lord. but didn't we do this? And didn't we do that? And didn't we do this? Look at all the obedience. But Jesus says, no, the ones who know me are the ones who do the will of my Father in heaven. Well, I thought they were doing the will of his Father in heaven. They were doing all these activities. They were doing all this work. Except the will of his Father in heaven is that we have faith. So just doing things, just writing your book is not really going to please God. It's writing your book with faith. Having the faith that your effort will not be in vain. Having the faith that the money and the time investments that you've made along the way are not going to be wasted. That's the attitude of the wise virgins. That's the attitude of the faithful servants who invested with hope and joy in anticipation of their master's return. So I encourage you, you may have tried everything just like I had. You may get to that crisis moment where you're thinking about quitting, but it never really was about the things we were trying. It was about the faith we were exhibiting as we were trying. And the faith doesn't really come into play until you've tried everything and it still isn't working out. But you have to trust that God knows what he's doing and what you offer him in that moment by saying, Lord, you know I would serve you again, no matter the outcome. That is a fragrant offering to him. He is very pleased. You may be new here, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Nika Maples, and I help Christian coaches, speakers, and influencers write books so that they can advance the kingdom and transform people in Jesus' name. And if that's you, then one thing that I often tell my clients may be of great interest to you as well. I tell them the outcome is God's territory. The obedience is our territory. Stay where you belong. When we worry too much about the outcome, what is going to be produced by our obedience, then we actually leave the territory of obedience and we inch on into the part that is entirely up to God. The outcome, the results, the harvest belong to the Lord of the harvest. It's not ours to know, but we can trust that he will be faithful and deliver it in due time. Galatians 6:9 says, do not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. So trust God and try again and believe that he will be who he says he is. He's faithful and true. If this video was an encouragement to you, please hit the like button, make a comment, and share it with somebody who needs encouragement today.